guys, welcome to another episode of Unconventionally Systemic. Little tongue twister there. So today I'm joined again with my very lovely ladies, Fazana, Mariam, and Megan. And we just thought today would be a good time or good day to kind of talk about our journey so far into the systemic family therapy training. And maybe actually it might be a good time to maybe talk about our individual backgrounds, what inspired us maybe, or encouraged us to come down this route and how we found it so far. And just kind of share thoughts, especially for people that might be listening and considering a similar route. It'll be good, I guess, for you guys to know that there are multiple routes to be able to get into this, actually. Some unconventional ones as well that I'm really excited about. I'm looking at you, Fazana. She's probably tired of me now because I feel like I've told every single person I know that's thinking about systemic that they can do it this way. Because I think, I just really love her story personally. Really encourages me and everyone else's journey, actually. And we've all come in here with a vast and a wealth of experience. So hopefully you stay tuned and you enjoy it. On that note, would you like to start, Fazana, since I've already put it out there? Because I'm sure our listeners are thinking, we want to hear this story now. So if you don't mind, I'll let you start.
No. Thank you, Lola. I was kind of thinking about, well, where do I start almost? Do I talk about my experience? Do I talk about how I got into the training? Or do I give some context to what the training is? Maybe that might be a good start, actually. So I guess to train in family and systemic psychotherapy, you need to undergo an intermediate level training, which is a PG cert at King's, but I think other institutions call it a PG diploma. And then once you complete that, that would require you to do 60 hours of practice and 10 hours of supervision. And then you proceed to apply for the master's, which is the qualifying level training, which is what everyone in this group is currently doing. And that has its own kind of requirements, which is quite anxiety provoking. So I'm not going to go into that. So that's just a bit of background on the journey of how to kind of train in systemic psychotherapy. I believe it's accredited by the UKCP under the body of the Association of Family Therapy. But so that's just some context. In terms of, I guess, Lola mentioned unconventional routes. The reason she said that is because systemic psychotherapy tends to be a second profession. It tends to attract a lot of various people from very different backgrounds who are sort of already established mental health professionals. So you'd often find social workers, nurses, occupational therapists, psychologists, etc., kind of pursuing systemic psychotherapy. And what was kind of unconventional for me is I don't have a core profession. So my background's I'm a psychology graduate and I've got a lot of experience in mental health, particularly around adult mental health in community settings. So I guess that's what's unconventional, is because I think it can be quite a deterrent. I think a lot of people do see the entry requirements and they see that you have to go through an APL route, and it does put a lot of people who don't have core professions to applying. And this is just to say that it's very possible to get on these courses without having it. But I don't know if anyone wants to kind of add, because I'm still thinking about what I want to share. So maybe if I could hear what others have to say, it might. Oh, okay. I think Mariam asked what's AP. Oh, it's APEL. It's an accredited, I'm not sure what it stands for. It's kind of a route you have to take if you don't fit the formal criteria. It's called applying for accreditation for prior experiential learning. That's what it stands for. And it's basically when you take an unconventional route to because you don't meet the standard entry requirements. But I hope that kind of gave some clarity.
Thanks, Mariam, because I was also thinking, I was like, what is that? I had not heard that before. Yeah, Lola, I'm going to let you.
And I was just going to add to the APAL thing that Fazana was talking about. So it is for that, and as well as if, in my case, for example, I came into the second year of the postgraduate certificate straight away, and I went through APAL because I'd already had the first year experience from my social work training. Does that make sense? So I was able to show them enough evidence that I had the hours, some of the hours, which also helped thankfully in my journey as well, and some of the teaching as well for like what you'd have been taught in the first year postgraduate certificate. So I had to go through the APAL to prove that, and then they accepted it, and then I went on to the second year straight away. And I guess since I'm really talking, I might as well just share my journey into this. So I'm also a psychology graduate, similar to Fazana. I'm at uni. I actually before I went to uni, when I was in sixth form or college, depending on where in the world you are. So this is something that we do before university here in the UK. So in the sixth form, I actually didn't want to go into psychology. I wanted to be a politician to fight for women's rights. But I feel like I'm still doing that in some other ways. Maybe not as a politician. But anyway, so that was kind of like my dream and my goal. And then I actually I was doing maths in sixth form. I love maths, but I just wasn't great at it anymore. It wasn't the same as secondary school. So I actually dropped that and did psychology instead. And I absolutely loved it. And yeah, that was how I kind of came into psychology. But doing psychology in sixth form, for a lot of people, probably similar to Fazana, it was a dream to become a clinical psychologist, then did a doctorate. But at uni, I realized how difficult it was because we had talks and things, and everyone was like, yeah, you apply 4 or 5 times before you get on. And I hate rejection. Put it out there, self-disclaimer. And I'm just like, you know what, I'd rather not. And when I was sort of kind of thinking, again, I share this story as this is literally how it happened for me. Like one day I couldn't sleep and I was just kind of talking to the Holy Spirit, and a shrink came to mind, and I was like, what the hell is that? I didn't even know what it was. And as people might be listening, no, that's an American word. So I'm like, what the hell? So I literally Googled it at like 2 a.m. in the morning, no joke, second year at uni. And I kind of read that basically means like a family therapist or like a marriage. I think they're called a marriage and family therapist in America. And just kind of reading what they do, I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. So like, it literally was like, I became obsessed with this. I looked at the route here in the UK, and that's when you have to be a professional in something else before they would normally kind of accept you onto the course. Anyway, after I finished uni, I wanted to go into IACT. So I'd applied for PWP post. And what that basically means is psychological wellbeing practitioner. So I applied for that. I didn't get onto it, and then I also applied for some graduate schemes in social work. I did get onto it the first year, which I think we can actually talk about another day because funny enough, I got into it the second year because I had this thing called rare recruitment where they kind of coach people from the global majority to get onto this very like highly demanding graduate schemes where usually people from like Oxbridge and white middle class people basically get onto instead. So because there was a lack of people from the global majority, literally they actually paid for people that were applying from, the global majority sector to actually get this coaching, which was very interesting, I think, actually. But that clearly helped, and I got onto the graduate scheme in social work, something called Frontline, which is what I did. So I am a social worker as well, worked in child protection, and then moved into mental health CAMS 2 years ago. Actually, in January will be 2 years since I've been doing that, and that was when I started my journey into the systemic training. So, like I said before, I applied straight for the second year part-time for the postgraduate certificate, and then now I'm on the masters full-time with Fazan, and our other lovely ladies are also doing the masters, but they're doing it part-time. So I'll pass it on to Megan to share her journey with us.
Yeah, I think, so I feel like we share a little connection here. I don't know what Mariam's background is, but Lola and Fazana, I also am a psychology graduate. We get everywhere. We are in every sector. Like we are not limited to mental health, but we dominate mental health, but we get everywhere. So I think I'm going to go back to when I was about 14. And I think for me, I watched an inordinate amount of TV and US TV as well, US sitcoms. And I just got really, really into Frasier, which is an odd thing for a 14-year-old to get into, I feel. But so I was watching Frasier and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be like Frasier Crane, which is like, for, you know, a 14-year-old black girl living in Cambridge, that would have been very, very, you know, wanting to be this middle-aged white American man living in Seattle. It felt like quite a big leap, but I wanted to do what he was doing. And so that just really inspired me. So obviously, I think he's actually a psychiatrist. And so for ages, I thought that's what I wanted to do, until somebody pulled me aside and they were like, you know, oh my gosh, this is going to get so many complaints from any psychiatrist or any people who like psychiatry, psychiatrists, in terms of the profession itself. Somebody pulled me aside and were just like, yeah, you know, they just, you know, push medication. And I was like, oh, wait, that's not quite what I want to do. That is not, disclaimer, that is not what psychiatrists do. It's just what somebody told me they did. That is all that it is, okay? But anyway, so that's what, you know, 15, I think I was 15 or 16 at this point. And also, another bit of full disclosure, my mum's a maths teacher and a maths and science teacher, and I did not do very well in maths or science. The woman cried at my GCSE results, but it's fine, it's fine. Don't shed any tears for me either. But anyway, I was never going to get the grades in those subjects to allow me to go in to study medicine and then to go on to do, because I wasn't really interested in that. I was interested in finding out about the human condition and like anthropology and sociology and psychology and philosophy. These were the things that really interested me. And so that's how I thought that I was going to be going in to train as a clinical psychologist as well. And by the time I got to the third year at uni, another person pulled me aside and whispered in my ear, had you thought about art therapy? Because I do a lot of painting and like I'm an artist in my spare time. And they were like, have you thought about this? And I hadn't. And I was like, this looks amazing. This is what I want to do. And so I spent a few wild years, living in various different countries and living my best life, guys. And then I was like, okay, now I'm coming back and I'm going to train as an art psychotherapist. And that's what I did. And then I am a perpetual learner, and I'll be very, very honest here actually and say I got really disillusioned by art therapy, not because of the practice, but because of the profession as a whole. And I think I got fed up of quite often being the only non-white middle-aged woman in a space, in an art therapy space, and thinking about, and there are people from all walks of life, not all walks of life, there are people from a limited number of walks of life within the profession, but that didn't feel particularly nourishing. And I saw family therapy and I thought, this is actually something that I feel makes sense in terms of thinking about systems around people. And I was bored, and I was like, I've got time and I've got a little tiny bit of disposable income, so I will invest in learning about this thing. And then I just fell in love with it. Not to say there aren't problems within systemic therapy, but that is my journey I'd say in a nutshell, but it's one perspective of my journey. I'm sure other people in my life would be like, that is not how that panned out, Megan. But yeah, Mariam, I'm going to pass the baton over to you.
Thank you. Oh, wow. This is really interesting. You know, I'm really struck by how you all did psychology in the past, and I'm thinking, I've not done a psychology degree, but you know, but that kind of connected. First of all, I was really curious about your art therapy journey, Megan, and I know we've spoken previously about some of the disparities in people of the global majority receiving art therapy as a therapy for their mental health difficulties. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. But so what's my journey? So I suppose my connection with you guys in terms of psychology is that when I came to this country, I I always wanted to be a surgeon. Like I used to be one of those who played doctor, and I was young, and I would not cut real things up, but just I wanted to be like maybe like a heart surgeon or something like that, like something really exotic like that, because I thought it was really exotic. But at one point later on in my life, I found out that, I don't know, like the level of confidence that they need to have, it was a bit, I don't know, it was like, not just, I thought, they have to, I don't know, pretend that they're gods and they could do all that. I don't know where I got that from, but I just got that from somewhere that really conflicted with me. But anyway, that's not what happened. That's not why I didn't do that. I just didn't get the grades. So I did, at sixth form, I did psychology and sociology in A levels, and I was thinking about going into medicine. I did biology, and I had started out with chemistry, but I was just so rubbish at it, and I hated maths and all of that stuff. But I really liked my psychology teacher. He was this old white man who, when he was talking about people with mental health difficulties, especially people's experiences who have schizophrenia or who have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, I just wanted to like almost be with them or sit with them or hear their stories and talk about my own strange stories about like the unusualness of their reality and how it connects with different parts of the world's reality as real reality. That I think at that point I was just fascinated by how in different contexts someone else's reality becomes a disease or an illness, and other people's reality is not that. And I wondered who decides whose reality becomes a diagnosis and whose reality isn't. So, but I was really fascinated with this man and this diagnosis and this idea. So, and I knew I was not going to get onto the medicine course, and I ended up doing mental health nursing. So that's my background. I've been a mental health nurse now for almost like 15 years, which is such a long time. Just thinking about it now, I'm thinking, God, but I feel like that profession's really scarred me in so many ways. But mental health nursing is great, and it's like, but I think working on the wards in psychiatric intensive care unit and seeing so many people like us, like in just, I find talking about it a bit traumatizing. And having to be someone who, I don't know, I just really wrestle with that. Anyway, I really wrestle with the inequalities that I witnessed, that I was part of perpetuating. I wanted to change the world. I remember when I was working in a psychiatric intensive care unit, staying in that job really long, because I wanted to save the world, really. I wanted to make a difference. And I thought there's more to people being acutely unwell, there's more to them having medication. And why is it that it was so many young Black men in the unit, and the majority of the staff who were there day in, day out were of global majority, and we were the ones who were giving the injections and restraining people and all of that. And it really tugged at me, and I was thinking, why are we not doing more activities? Why are we not doing more art? Why are we not doing more games? Why are we not out in the garden more and just playing football, basketball, something? Why are we not doing more of that stuff? And why are we just lounging around and waiting for someone to get bored so then we can hold them down or lock them up in seclusion and give them an injection? And these are all kind of my, I think, traumatized self speaking. And I'm not saying to people that this is how psychiatric intensive care unit are, and a lot of different people are going to have a lot of different perspectives on them. But I think I wrestled with it, and I ended up doing this like activity program and all of these things, and I was all about this recovery model, and I left inpatient. Anyway, I left it and I went into community. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But now, 3 years ago, I started working in camps, and I just really wanted to rub shoulders with, people like you guys, and work with people who did more like art therapy, like things that I didn't see on the wards being implemented. I wanted to work with psychologists. I didn't want to be in a psychiatric dominated environment, and I wanted And kind of one of the things I really cared about was working with young people. And I had a placement with young people, and I just really wanted to work with them because I found it kind of more relatable, and I felt like I could be myself. And I didn't need to, I don't know, like speak in this real kind of, use a lot of jargon and all of that stuff. But anyway, I ended up coming back to Cannes, and then I worked, that's where I met Lola. And then when I started working in CAMS in 2018, in the summer, people just started talking about how I was talking about things, and the things I was talking about in terms of difference, how it just sounded really systemic. And as I thought about that, and my sister's a clinical psychologist, and we would talk a lot about things, and she said, oh, think about systemic family therapy, and I didn't know what the heck she was talking about. And then when I went in CAMS, other people were saying that to me. And before I went, when I was doing nursing, I did like medical anthropology, and to be honest, the way that came to me is the way how Lola described how this kind of shrink idea came to her. And I remember I just wanted to just dive deep into like different healing systems and just other things that were not biomedical heavy. I wanted to live in a forest and all of that. I wanted to kind of reconnect with traditional healing systems from kind of my country of origin, like spirituality in a different way. I shied away from like aspects of religious healing because at that time, spiritually, I don't think I was comfortable where I was at. But I wanted to think about all these cultural practices that were happening. But anyway, so I did a bit of that, but then nursing just didn't feel the same to me. And I just wanted to leave. And yeah, I think I'm now on the journey to leave like nursing. But anyway, so I found this amazing systemic thing that for me, I started out doing the foundation, the postgraduate certificate foundation, and I did all of that part-time, and then intermediate, and then met Megan in that course, and then so we've been doing that. We're now on this kind of qualifying path, on a part-time basis. So I guess for me that's my journey, but I'm really interested to talk about. I know people got a lot to say, but I'm really anyway, we'll talk about the financial commitment for this because we need to keep it real, guys. But but Megan had a large investment to give to herself, so that's really lovely, and how you loved on yourself like that with paying for this course. I wish I saved up, but anyway, we'll talk about that. So.
I feel like when I say I had it was a very small amount of disposable income to pay for the first part of the course. Right now, joking, not joking, if anybody wants to buy a kidney, I'm selling one of my kidneys to pay for the MSc. So yeah, just putting that out there. Jokes, not jokes.
I think, okay, I'm quite passionate about talking about the economical barriers to this training route, but I think I just want to add to what Mariam was saying. Mariam, as you were talking, I was really thinking about, I really enjoyed how raw you were about your feelings, and I think that's kind of how I stumbled across systemic work as well. When I was working in adult mental health, I was working in a lot of like psychosis service like with like people who struggle with PD, and I was almost working with adults who had been in and out of the mental health system for so many years, and they were almost institutionalized, and no one was thinking about the system, no one was thinking about the systemic influences, and there was no context, and it was just focused around the individual, and I found it so pathologizing almost. And I think that's one of the reasons. I think although a lot of psychology graduates, I think they do want to pursue clinical psychology, a part of me was even thinking, after I do this MSc, I might consider it. But now I'm like, actually, I don't think I want to work with individuals. I don't think I want to do that. Because and what attracted me to systemic psychotherapy is the fact that we do give such a focus to the contextual factors, the contextual privileges, the contextual powers that I feel like is just missed, or is not, it's not the forefront. In, not to say systemic psychotherapy is perfect by any means, it's not, it's far from, but that's what attracted me to it, is that we can actually think about the disadvantages, the prejudices, and everything that kind of influences our mental health well-being. You know, when we think about poverty, financial difficulties, they have a direct influence on people's thinkings and how they deal with adversity, how they deal with their relations. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but yeah, just to say that that was actually what attracted me to it. And I think something you said, Mariam, was actually when we think about like the demographic of like the clientele, particularly when we work in the NHS. I'm based in Enfield, where there's a very high population of Turkish Cypriot Muslim clientele population, and they tend to be from a working class background. And I find that because of the cost of training in this profession, oftentimes it's only accessible to a certain economical demographic, if that makes sense. And it's and I really want to know, I think, what is maybe AFT, what is UKCP, what's being done to make it more accessible, because I think a lot of feedback is a lot of clients, they do want therapists that can connect with them. And as much as we can think about cultural competency and developing all of that, what are we doing to, I guess, diversify the pool of therapists that are available when it's been made so difficult to train in one, when there's so many financial barriers? And I don't know if there's probably not an answer for this, and I don't know if anything's being done about this, but it's really frustrating for me personally. But Lola, I think you want to say.
Thanks, Fazana. I just quickly, Fazana, sorry. That was really helpful, but I know you mentioned that you worked in psychosis with people that had PD. I know that we probably just use terms because I'm very conscious about people that are listening. They want to know what that means. I just wanted you to quickly just explain, basically what that is for people that are wondering what the hell is that.
Sorry, I kind of, okay. So when I meant PD, it's just working with, it was a service specifically for individuals who have different kinds of personality disorders. So essentially, I know like in psychology, we have a lot of acronyms. So thank you for pointing that out, because I probably do it a lot. But PD is just short for personality disorders.
Thank you very much. And honestly, I know because of time and things, we need to talk about the financial aspect. And actually, I didn't think of this. So maybe I should have brought it in a lot sooner. And thanks, ma'am, for pointing it out. We can quickly touch on that. But before we do, I just wanted to say, I think it'll be really, really good to maybe have another episode. It's going to probably sound scary, which is why I'm doing it live. So that the viewers can hopefully hold us accountable, but do an episode where each one of us would just kind of explain some of their experiences up until this point, because Megan, I really want to hear more about art therapy, like, you know, Mariam also, I think also was quite curious about. Mariam, I also want to hear more about your journey as a mental health nurse and working on wards as well. Fazana, I also want to hear more about you working in adult mental health services and what that was like. I mean, you worked in community and I think prison as well, which if I remember correctly, you didn't really enjoy that. So it would be really good to sort of hear that, not to put people up, but so people just know what it's like to be in these spaces. Because I think sometimes before we go into professions and things, we kind of romanticize things. And I'm similar to Megan, when you watch stuff on TV, you're like, oh my God, this looks so cool. And then you get into it and it might not always be the reality. So I think, again, like we're going to keep it real and just share our experiences with you. So it could be like an interview type, whatever, way we want to do it. But I think that would be nice for us to think about doing that in the future. And also let us know, guys, if you want to hear, if you're like, actually, we don't really care, then maybe we would do it. But yeah, just going back to the financial aspect of things. Honestly, again, for me, I finished my psychology degree about 10 years ago. That's literally how long it's taken me to get here. And even now, I still can't financially afford the course, if I'm being very honest. And I remember quite clearly that so I did a placement year at uni. So my final year at uni was the first year that student finance started giving people money towards their masters. And I remember feeling so happy because I'd always thought, how the hell am I going to pay for this master's in family therapy when I come to it? I didn't even think about the grad cert or the the postgraduate diploma, which is also costly, actually, by the way, which is why I was very adamant I wasn't going to redo the first year again. But anyway, so I was really thinking, how am I going to pay for this? When I saw that, I was so excited, and I looked into it because I do like research and stuff. And that was why I found out that actually they won't pay for you to do 2 masters. So I think since then I'd had it stuck in my head that I couldn't do any other, like it was like a do or die affair. I was like, I do the masters in family therapy, or I would just never do a master's, because it was something that I was really passionate about, but something I knew I could not afford. So just to give you a little bit of background, so in at King's, the masters is about 13.5k, if I'm correct, Fazana. I think it's like 13,000 something. So it's very expensive. And if you're listening and you've been a master's before, you're looking to do a master's, you would know that student finance only gives you about 11k in total, and that's meant to cover your full-time fees and I guess living, because if you're studying full-time, you technically cannot really work alongside, which I know we're all doing, even though we're working. You know, some of us studying part-time, but yeah, so it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's like it's super expensive and it takes a lot of like sacrifice and stuff for us to be able to actually do this. But I'm going to quickly go to Megan. I know you shared a little bit, Megan, already about how you had to save, but I guess, is there any other like sort of tips you give people that are thinking of doing this, or just anything else in terms of the financial aspect that you think is quite relevant to know?
I think everything you've said in terms of it's that trick of, so obviously the art psychotherapy training, that was a master's as well, so that automatically cuts me off from being able to access other funds, which is really, really frustrating. Yeah, having really supportive family and friends around. One of my friends had suggested that I crowdfund, but that's not really my style. But she was like, no, I think it's something you should really do. But then there's also something about the luxury of being a therapist and then going on to train in another modality. It feels very decadent. And actually, part of me, I love being an art therapist. I love the work that I can do and the value I know I can bring in this space, but also knowing that actually, with hindsight, I would probably not have trained as an art therapist, and I would have tried to go the Fazana route, which is now being coined, the Fazana route, the unconventional route, and just have that as my core profession. No tea, no shade to art therapists or art therapy, but.
Sorry, just a quick add. I completely hear that, Megan, but I was speaking to someone that's looking to do art therapy, and she's done like a module in it. And when she talked about what they did, I actually thought about it, and I thought actually you'd honestly make a really fantastic family therapy, systemic family therapist, because I think the two can work quite well together. Do you get what I mean? Like
they definitely do. They definitely do, and they are not. They are in no way mutually exclusive. But financially, they feel mutually exclusive in terms of it will have been, by the time I finish the MSc, I will have spent maybe just on higher education, not including my BSc in psychology, I will have spent maybe 30 grand on education, probably 30 plus grand on education. And it's an investment in myself, and it's a lot to do with my own family belief systems around education being worth far more than anything else. But yeah.
Thanks, Megan. Mariam, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think I have a lot to add, but I will save it for part 2. So you guys have to really tune in to part 2 of this, when we'll be sharing more about some of the, I'm not going to say financial burdens, but you know, they are kind of burdensome, but and maybe we could start kind of thinking about even our listeners giving us ideas about how we can raise money to finish this course.
Totally.
That sounds
anybody-
great.
Has anyone got a spare 50 grand lying around?
If you want to if anyone got a business, they want us to advertise on the pod, we can make an advert break just for you.
You know what? Yeah, we'll be up for that, because we need to raise those coins, and pay for this, finishing this course. But yeah, so I think I'll say a lot more in part 2.
Thank you, Mariam.
Could I just add, Mariam, to what you were saying? I think it might be worth also thinking about talking to the viewers around how we're also maneuvering through this course financially. It might be good to kind of, because I've found my own way of doing it, in how I can have some side income whilst I'm doing the course. And I'm wondering, maybe that might be something that I wish before I went onto the course there was a podcast about and someone told me or guided me on it. So maybe that's something we can also put in. But
can we title that the side hustle, family therapy?
Yes,
side hustle.
I like it. Definitely. I agree. Sorry, Mariam, go on.
No, I was saying, we have the title for that financial one. But yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree, girls. And I hope this is giving you some insight, guys, listening to just how we got here. And I think perfectly, side hustle coming up next, about how we're maneuvering it, how we're kind of developing through it, and also just how we're kind of navigating this as well, thinking about some of the things that we've already learned from, whether it's mental health nursing or psychology or art therapy, and how that's translating here. But also, if there are conflicting things you think that is coming up for you as well, how we're also navigating that. So we'll probably end here today, guys. Thank you so much for just coming on this journey with us and listening. As always, please like, share, subscribe. I feel like a YouTuber now. Whatever it is that you do for podcasts, please do it. Give us feedback, leave reviews. We want to hear it. And you can send voice reviews to our email address, video reviews, if you want to even see what you guys look like. And maybe one day you guys will get to see us. Maybe people are literally looking mortified. But yeah, I think that might be nice, guys. Coming out of our show, let's be unconventional. But maybe not anytime soon. We'll see. Need to get the girls and have some therapy first. To make sure everyone's ready for that. But honestly, guys, we just really love just coming on here, talking to you guys, and we'll love to hear some feedback from you guys as well. So until next time, bye.